Hey everyone, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. So I need to work on a birthday card, and I wanted to pull out some of my older High Hopes stamps. I don't know if this lamp is going to work out for me. I think it's going to drive you and me crazy with all these blinding reflections. But anyway, so I pulled out some of my older High Hopes stamps, and a lot of these were illustrated by Chrissy Armstrong, who is an illustrator for Whimsy right now. And there's some scene stamps in here that I want to use. So I think they're in this particular folder. I have several of these 3-ring binders full of stamps, but looks like we have some dragons here, some ants. Ants carrying a birthday cake, ants carrying tools, garden tools. Let's see, some ladybugs, bookworm. Yes, this is the scene stamp I want. So let me get that out of there. So basically I have Aleene's Tack It Over and Over glue on the back of these red rubber stamps that don't have any cling mount to them, and then I just have them stuck down to a piece of acetate or like overhead projector film. And then I can just peel that off, stick this back inside there, and then I have a nice piece of heavy cardstock in this sleeve as well, so that I can put stamps on both sides, should I choose to. So there we go. Okay, so these images are all little girls and like girls, a trio of girls, like having a sleepover or playing a game. So that's not what I'm looking for. So see, I'm able to put stamps on both sides by having that white piece of paper in there. These are little kids, like summertime kids, a girl with a jar of lightning bugs, a basket of kittens with a dog. And then these are farm animals. So there's a cow, and they're so funny. They look like they have their feet out like they're holding something. So like here you can see the cow has its foot up here. And then you can have it hold a birthday cake or a birthday gift or a party hat. Here's a plate of a great big stacked sandwich or a glass of wine or champagne. And then the donkey has the same thing, its foot out. And so you could put all these things on the donkey's foot. Such cute images. And of course, I love Chrissy's art style of her critters. But Alan wants me to use this old goat on the card. So I thought I would get that out. And maybe even include the dog. Because we used to have an old dog, an old working dog like that. She was a Great Pyrenees. So I can put her on the card. Just peel that off. Oops. And then get the goat. And I think I'll do get the birthday hat out and the gift. And we'll go with that. We'll create a little scene. And then on the back of this sheet, yes, there's my farmer and Mrs. Farmer, the girl with the bucket of milk and a kitten. There's a little girl, she can sit on a hay bale. Here's the hay. Here's a little boy. So cute. Here's a farmer scene, outhouse, an old tractor. So really, really cute stuff. And then there's more cows. Here's a stack of animals, farm animals. Here's some baby goats playing. There's a goat, donkeys, and a scarecrow. Here's a stack of woodland animals, a kissing booth, or a produce booth. So cute. Chicken wire. Here's a pig with some balloons and some buzzard in a tree. That would be a good one too, probably. And some balloons. Maybe I'll get those out too. And I think this is definitely going to be a card for the larger Misty. So we'll just pull these balloons out also. And see what we can dream up. I don't want the heart one. All right, so let's put this thing away. Sometimes I see these High Hopes images on eBay, and you know, they're hard to spot because they're always listed as unbranded. But if you know the images, you know that they're High Hopes images. All right, so I got my bigger Misty. This is the original size. Oh, it has a cling foam, or a cling mat inside it. So let me get some watercolor paper. All right, so I've got a couple slightly larger pieces here. These are also Canson XL watercolor paper if you're curious. So I'm just gonna set one in here. Let's see, how do I want to create my scene? Been a long time since I used these stamps. I think I want to just kind of set that in the middle. That way I'll be able to trim some off if needed. Boy, there's like little threads on here. Imagine that. It couldn't be dog hair, Oliver. All right. Let's see how straight that looks. I think that will do. All right. So I'm going to watercolor. So I'm going to use some VersaFine, what is this called? VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. Just because I want to watercolor it. I probably could have used my mini Misty, but I wasn't quite sure how big of a piece of paper I would need to create this scene, so I think I'll stamp it one more time to get the bottom edge down here to show. And get it nice and inky. I haven't used this Misty in a long time. I use the mini Misty most of the time. I need a little bit more ink down there. Anywhere else? Nope. Just those little mushrooms down there in the bottom. Oh, silly. I inked up the wrong mushrooms. I need those to print, not those. Seems like the door of my Misty is warped. There we go. Perfect. And then I think I'll pull that out, take these off and set them aside on my binder. And let me get my watercolor paints. All right, so this was the closest set to reach. It's the Milang set, but it is the set that has the 3 rows of regular watercolors and 1 row of metallics. And this one has not been used for a while, so I might actually spray it with water and get some moisture back in these pans. Even if I don't use all the colors. It's good to add a little moisture every once in a while. And then these are some other pans that I put in here. Hey, there's some paintbrushes in here. That's nice. All right. So I think these will be the ones that I use today. All right, I'm going to paint these trees and things, different colors of greens and maybe some burgundies. And we'll see what else. You know, that was the other color that I really missed in that Niji set was I really missed this olivey green from the Paul Rubens sets. That's probably my most used green. So I did miss that. Let's see. I think I want this front shrub to be kind of an olivey color. And now, once I've got that back side of the shrub painted, I'm just going to add a little more water to my brush. And that'll allow me to use the same color, but it'll actually pull it into the painting just at a lighter value. And I could even go in with a little bit darker and add it here on the back side. Maybe just a smidge below the... It's like a little boxwood shrub or something. I'll paint that shrub on this side the same color. And I'm going to let the shadow of the scene be on the outside edges, so we'll have kind of like a light source that's somewhat towards the center of the image. I'm just getting a little more water to pull the rest of that pigment over. And then I'll add a little bit of darkness under this little spot here, where that little part of the shrub would kind of cast a shadow. All right, I'm gonna let those dry before I move on to the shrubs right next to them. So while I'm waiting for those 2 little shrubs to dry, I think I'll come up here and paint the top of these trees here. I can paint it with the same green, and then I can just dab in little areas of different colors like yellow. Some darker greens maybe. Oliver is sleeping under my desk and he's growling. All right, I'm going to pick up some of this yellow ochre. Maybe drop it in a little bit. And then maybe find a darker green. So while that is drying, my little shrubs up front aren't not dry yet, so I want to not touch those, but I could maybe start painting these little blue spruce trees. Let's see, I'll pull in a little bit of the indigo with a little bit of this green that's already on my palette. And you probably can't see the palette, but let's see. It's kind of a dark bluish green. Be a pretty color for a tree. Sometimes I want to do more painting videos for you guys, but sometimes I just don't have anything to say. Is that okay? Do you mind videos where nothing gets said? Do you feel like you need to have each step explained to you, or are you good with just watching with me being kind of in silence? I'm going to add some more blue indigo to the same color and paint this tree back here. Actually, I should make it lighter, because as things recede from you, they get lighter. So let me add some of this paler blue to it. Ooh, that's pretty. Now I might need to make this one a little bit darker, but that's pretty. All right, let's see. What can we do next? Looks like these two shrubs are about dry. I could go on to the tree branches, or the tree trunks, I guess they are. Let's see. I'll use various shades of brown. This one kind of looks like a craggly old thing. And then I'll do this big one over here, the same color. If you're interested in these stamps, I do believe High Hopes is still open. They are in Canada. But you can go to their website, highhopesstamps.com, and see if they're still selling to the public. All right, and then I think these trees back here, they kind of look like aspen trees to me, or like birch trees. So I'm going to paint them a lighter, like a light gray. And to do that, I'm going to start with using black. There is a black in this set. I'm going to water it down really, really good. And I'm going to add just a hint of blue to it. So if you can see here, I had black and I watered it down just until you can see it's just barely any pigment in there. And then I have a little bit of blue here on my palette, and I pulled that into it as well. Just add a little more life to it. And so I'm just going to kind of carefully dot my brush through here, because birch trees and aspen trees, a lot of their bark is actually white. They do have those little black areas, but a lot of the tree bark on them is white, so I don't want to overwhelm them with color. And then I think I'll pick up just a hint of a darker shade and kind of dot my brush in there and just kind of get the hint of those. I don't know what they are. They're like scars on the birch trees and aspens. I could come back in when this dries too and add a few more. Let's see, that means I could also paint these trees here yellow, like they're in the fall transition. That would give me a little more variety in my tree line if I painted these golden yellow like the aspens in Colorado. And I could add some May green in here so we still have some little fresh areas. Let's see here. Where the leaves haven't turned yet. That's nice. So I think I'll do the same thing over here. I'll do the yellow and then the green. All right, that's fun. Something different. And now I think we can move on to painting the shrubs up front. So I'm just going to go with this olivey green here, but just make it a little bit darker. I think I'll do that with indigo. And I should have made these lighter than the ones in front. We'll just say that they're darker because they're cast in shadow here. And I think I am going to add a little more blue to this tree here. And doing it under the bottom sides of the branches where there would be less light. All right. Pleased with that. I think I'll add a little bit of blue here in the background, just so we have the hint of maybe some sunny sky back there. Here I run the risk of that green pulling into my sky, but that's okay. Because my green tree is still not dry. But that's all right. We're not exactly painting with precision here. And then as your sky gets lower, the color intensity needs to drop down. Add little darker areas here and make it look like there's actually some clouds back there. All right, now what's left is the little details up front, the little pathway. We can make that like it's kind of like a bark chip path, or we could make it see, like it leads back into the forest. See, these watercolors have sucked up that moisture. They were thirsty. Thirsty. And I can make this this little area here, make it look like it's kind of some dried grasses, you know, because we are in September. Not everything's going to be young and spring and green. Throw some of that darker brown into there, under these trees. And I don't need to get too carried away because my goat is going to have to stand here somewhere. All right, so let's get some paint on these little mushrooms. I think I'll do their little belly, or their little legs. I don't know what that part of the mushroom is. Stem? I'll do those kind of a cream color. And then I'll do the top red like they're poisonous mushrooms. Just get the first layer on here and then we'll add a little detail. All right, so this one over here is still pretty wet, but I can come over here and add a little detail to these two. There we go. That should do. And then we can add some color to the flowers. So I think I'll pick maybe a slightly different green than I've been using for the leaves. And then the flowers themselves, maybe I'll throw in a little bit of pink in there. Maybe I'll do yellow since the red mushrooms are right there. I'll do an orangey yellow. I'll put a little dark center in here. And then we need to darken up the little trees, the great big trees. So, ooh, that's a lot of paint. Get there. All right, I love it. I love it, I love it. So now let's move on to painting our goat. Might not have room for all these things. So for his horns, I'm gonna paint them yellow. And for his beard, I'm gonna paint it a pale gray. So I'm gonna kind of use that same gray I used on my aspen trees. And same with the little tuft of hair on his head. And maybe for the goat, I'm gonna paint him. I'm gonna paint his cane brown. What color do I want to paint him? I think I want to paint him darker gray. We're supposed to leave here shortly. I have no idea what time it is. I might have to pause this and come back. All right, so we got a base coat down for him. And then next will be his outfit. And I think the tip of his cane needs to be fairly dark. Like he's got one of the little rubber stoppers. Let's see. He could have a gift sitting next to him. Let's do that bright yellow. It's a little too orange. And then when that dries, I'll get that bow. All right, so let's do his shirt. Because pants are gonna be denim blue. So I'm gonna paint them with indigo. And then I can come in and add some details to the plaid lines. He's such a fancy dresser. Okay, and I think I'll do his shirt. I want to do it orange, I think. Let's give that a go. Even darker. We'll start with that with the base coat, and then we'll move in with the darker orange for some shadow. I think I need to go get ready. I think I'm gonna have to stop this for a while. We'll get this base coat down here on the shirt. And then I'll take a little break, let it dry, and I'll come back and finish. Now let's get some brown on his hooves while we're here too. Let's see, did I just use that? I used that on the cane. Let's use this one. So at least it's a little different. And as this thins, I can use it to add a little bit of shadow on the horns. All right. All right, I'm going to go take care of business for a bit. I will be back. It might not be in the exact same setup because I'm going to have to take my phone with me, but he should be wearing a white belt. Like an old golfer. But it might not be the exact setup, but we'll get close. So stay tuned and I'll continue. All right, I'm back. We've still got some work to do on our goat's pants. So let's see about that. Maybe I'll just kind of make them like checkerboard pants. I think I'll just add some shadows with maybe the indigo. We don't want our goat's pants to be too hip. Little shadow under where his foot would cast shadow. A little shadow at the legs. And then I think I'll do the cuffs slightly different color blue. Be cute to make them like golfer pants. Red, white with red stripes instead of plaid, or green and yellow. All right, so I think I'm going to add a little bit of definition now to the goat, just by adding a second layer basically of my original color, where I want there to be some shadows. Gotta make sure I get his legs. And maybe I'll even do some on the feet too. Why not? And a little bit up on his horns. And I think to make his glasses look like glasses, I'm going to add just a bit of blue sparkle. It'll give just a cast of blue to it, but then it'll give a little bit of iridescence. To make it look like it's a lens. That's cute. And then I think I'll do a little bit of pink in his nose. We're really getting down to some nitty-gritty details here now. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of dimension to his shirt with some darker yellows and oranges. Oliver is in here with me. He's walking around. Now he apparently seems to think he needs out, at least out of here. All right, I think that's what I'm going to do with the goat. The present, I think I might do the same bright orange for the ribbon, and maybe even adds a little bit of pink sparkle to it. Maybe do the undersides of the ribbons this orange, And then I can do the top side of the ribbons pink with sparkle. Just for variety. Maybe this one. All right. So now I need to let these guys dry so that they don't smear when I cut them out. I'm going to put some gold on his belt buckle. I think I might actually run some silver lines down his pants. Let's see. This will just be kind of a sparkle using this color in the palette. I love using this one for splatter. Let's see. That's cute. I don't know if you can see it, but I put sparkle lines on his britches. Fancy schmancy. Let's see. Let's color the hat just in case we find a place to use it. I think I'll color it this color red, which is probably more like opera. And then I'll do that same color down here. I think I'll do the little top knot thingy bright yellow. I clean up my yellow a little bit, add some green in there. And then I think for the dots, I'll do one orange. I'll do one bright blue. Or maybe this bright blue. I'll do all the dots orange. And then the little ruffles around the face. I'll pretend those are kind of white. There we go. Okay, so those need to sit aside to dry. And I'll be back. All right. So I think these guys are, well, the dot on top of the hat's not quite dry. So I need to give that more time. But meanwhile, let's take a look at this. That dried beautiful. So I think I'll go cut it down a smidge. I'll be right back. All right. So I've cut this down. I wanted to do a vertical card. So I cut this down to 4 1/4 by 3 7/8 basically. So it's going to fill the front of my card completely, like that. And I'll have a little bit of the card base showing up top and a little bit down below. And I wanted it to kind of match these blue spruce trees. I think they're so pretty. And then I did have a little mat over there that was cut at 4 1/4 already. So I grabbed it and I cut it down to just be 1/4 of an inch or so. So I can make 1/8 of an inch on the top and bottom of this to kind of frame it out a little bit. So let's glue this down. And see what we can get. This might be my longest video ever making a card. See, is it this way? Helps to see when the glasses are on the face. All right, now I'm going to flip this over. Now that I've got it where I want it, I'm going to flip it over. And I've got this heavy clear block. Yeah, heavy clear block I'm going to set on that, and that'll make those pieces adhere together and dry super flat. Meanwhile, my hat bauble is still wet. So I'm going to cut the gift and the hat aside. Let them continue to dry while I work on the goat. If I need to hit that with a heat tool, I will. So I'm just going to carefully fussy cut this old guy. And if you've never spent a lot of time fussy cutting, you want to, instead of moving your scissors, you want to move the paper to the blades of your scissors. And that'll help you get a really nice cut edge. And of course, it helps to have super sharp scissors. And my favorite are these cutter bees, the titanium ones, or Teflon, I guess. Okay, So there's the goat. Oops. Let's see if the hat's not quite dry, but the present is. So do the same thing. I might not use the hat anyways. All right, I'm going to keep that set aside to continue to dry. I don't think we'll use the dog unless I use it on the inside, but we'll set it aside for now. All right, let's take a look at our little scene. Glue is coming out the sides. But at least we know it's adhered all the way to the edge. So I like that. Isn't that cute? All right, you know I've got to do this. At least on the top and the bottom. Maybe not the sides, since it's going to stretch to the edge of the card. But I could also, let's see, I could do a little background stamping. With my ledger, my received ledger, and my new Stampin' Up! Ink. How about that for an idea? All right, here we go. I bet this is super juicy. All right, let's see. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Ooh, but that is pretty perfect. Cool. All right, let's clean this up a smidge. It's so easy to stamp with these large backgrounds when you just leave it on the adhesive or the clear carrier sheet and press your paper to it. And then you just put the backing back on and you're good to go. I love it. Love it. Of course, now my hand is all inky, but that's okay. So that looks pretty cool. I love that. So I am going to first put this thing away. I can just see myself sticking my hand in that. All right, so I'm going to adhere this onto here, and our goat, he is going to be on here, popped up like this. And then he can have a little gift. Should we put him over here and put the gift over here? I think so. Very good. All right. So first though, I gotta ink up my edges just a smidge. I can't have them just be bare. So there's that. And there's that. Ah, I love it. And this is going to go on here right about there. I should get my block again. I love that. Sometimes if I need it extra heavy, I'll fill this up with water and I'll set it on here, or I'll go grab, like here's a heavy jar of buttons. If you want something to really weight down and glue flat or level, that's the way to do it. Have something really heavy on it while that glue dries. So let's see. I have, since I don't have to be extra flat, I'm going to use this thicker adhesive tape that I have. And that way, the goat can stand further off of the background of the card. We can glue some of this on here. Now, I think I need a couple of smaller pieces for his arm and his cane. And then we'll do a flatter one for the gift. One that's not quite so poofy. All right, I'm gonna set that hat aside. Let's get our card down here. Oh, I think it looks so cute. Okay, next up, the old goat. I love it. We'll kind of tuck this behind him a little bit so we don't hide all of our mushrooms. There. That's so cute. Let's see if we wanted to use this now. I think that's dry. He could put it on. I think it's a little much for him. Let me see in the camera. Oh, I like the hat. I'm going to glue it on. Once I put it here, there's no going back. I should use hot glue because then I could have just a smidge of dimension. There you go. And I'll find a sentiment to put inside. And Alan will write to him inside. And then I can probably stamp something on here. Like, I'll use my chicken stamp. I think that is pretty fun. And he'll love it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the whole process of putting together this card, from stamping to painting to fussy cutting, all the tips and tricks. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great night, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.